Yo, what's going on? In this video I'm going to be showing you how to mix your beats in FL Studio 20. This is going to be great if you're making trap beats, hip-hop beats, rap beats, that sort of stuff, R&B beats, even pop beats, really, if you're using 808s and all that sort of stuff, because this is going to walk you through the process that I use to mix all my beats, and I'm making a bunch of trap beats right about now. If you don't know who I am, I'm Jay Carter from jcarterray.com, teaching you how to be better at music, YouTube marketing, and online business. This is the #1 spot for musicians and creatives that don't want to be starving artists. So if that's you, this is the perfect place. Maybe you'll want to subscribe. But we're gonna walk through the whole process of mixing here. I'm going to show you some basic mastering that I also do. I just throw in the same preset on all my beats. I'll change it around if it's necessary, but generally mastering is saved for when I actually make a song to these beats. So this template will be there will be a link to this in the description, or you can go to jcarterray.com/FL templates. For this template, I will think about making an alternative template, not using any third-party plugins, so that you could just mix using FL Studio. Yo, wagwan, this is Future J, and I just realized that in this video I'm basically only using FL Studio plugins. I'm just, showing you through EQing and other plugins that you can use in FL Studio, so don't worry about any paid plugins or anything like that. I believe I do use the visual mixer in this video, but the visual mixer, you can download it for free from iZotope's website. I'll leave a link down below, and if you go get my template, I'll leave a PDF where you can download that free visual mixer as well. But you don't need to use the visual mixer. You can achieve the same things just using the normal mixer, so don't worry about that. Let's get back to the video, and this will show you how to use FL Studio to mix your beats, even if you ain't got any money to buy any plugins, so don't worry about that. Let's get into it. But everything that I'm going to show you in this video with third-party plugins and whatnot, you can basically replicate that in FL Studio using the inbuilt plugins, or you can find a free version. Like, the stuff that you get in paid plugins is generally convenience, so they give you like great presets and stuff like that, and that's what I get with Neutron 3 and Ozone 8, which is what I use for my mixing and mastering. So I'm gonna quickly play the beat that we have in the background so you can kind of hear what we've got here. And this is where we've started at with the mix. Generally, while I am creating a beat, I will level the mix in this channel rack to the best of my ability, and then I'll get deeper into the mix once this is done. But I'll show you the basic mix, and then we'll walk through all the plugins that have already been applied. These are the plugins that I generally just have on my mixer, because like just EQ and stuff like that, and maybe a little bit of compression and that sort of stuff, like the basic stuff that needs to be there, and then I'll show you the stuff that I'm doing on top. So let's quickly play this. And I'll let it play through to the verse, because it's important to hear the context of the instruments. Okay, that's all you basically need to hear. So all that has generally been mixed over here in terms of leveling, and then in the mixer I've then got some basic stuff on here. All right, so first up, we are going to mix the kick with the 808, which is something that a lot of people struggle with. Definitely something that I used to struggle with, to get that thumping sound, but also the boom back end of the 808. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So first of all, we're going to loop the chorus, because that's generally where the 808 and the kick both come in, and we are going to solo everything. Now, I generally like to mix around my kick, so what I will do is I'd put both of these in mono, but they're already there because of the template. But you put both of these in mono by using this knob here. I'd also put the whole track in mono and mix that way. That's a very good way to get your mix as, you know, as good as possible, because if it sounds good in mono, it's going to sound good in stereo, innit? And generally, I want to get my kick to hit at 6. So let's start with that, and then we'll move through the effects. So I'll first of all, actually, let's look at the EQ, because this does kind of matter. All I've done is we've taken off the high end, and I've done a little boost around where the kick actually hits its hardest. So let's play this and you'll see that. But I've taken into account the 808. So I've boosted around here in the kick, and what you could do is just subtract these EQ or this frequency from the 808 in order to fit in the beat. But that's not exactly what we've done here, and I'm going to show you exactly what I've done here in a second. But first, we just want to get this kick to around -6 dB, and then we will finagle moving from then on forward. So let's hear where this is at. It's probably at -6 dB, because as I said, I mix while I do make the beat. So this is actually not at -6 dB. I think I turned it down because I wanted the 808 to come through a little bit more. Let's hear how they both sound together. Okay, I think the kick could get a little bit of beefiness here, so we'll push it up a little bit. But generally, I'd push it all the way to 6. And then I'd mix the 808 around it, and you want this to, like, you want the 808 and the kick to basically hit at 6. That's what I like to do. So I'd either bring the kick down or bring the 808 down, depending on what type of vibe I'm trying to go for. And for this, we want to bring the kick down and leave the 808 with all its rambliness. So this is pretty much perfect. So that is what I do to mix the kick and the 808 in terms of leveling. But now let's deal with the EQ so that it's not muddy, and you can move the 808 out of the way so that the kick can actually come through and shine. Now what we've got here is, of course, we got the EQ that already shows you, and then what we've got is a fruity peak controller. Now all you need to do is go to a slot and add a fruity peak controller. Okay, so just add a fruity peak controller, and then you're done, basically. Like, that's all you need to do. Add the fruity peak controller and you're done. Okay, with the kick. Now what you need to do is come to the 808 and open up EQ. Now let's quickly check where, well, actually, let's go back to the kick so that you understand where the kick is hitting, because you do need to check that. And remember that I told you I boosted 117. Now this is where we will subtract in the 808, as I told you before. So let's go back into the 808 and we'll bring up this EQ, and we basically want to take away around 117. And like, we can change the like how wide or how small it is by using the rolling thing. I don't know what this is called on the mouse. And what we basically want to do here is we want to leave that where it is. Yeah, we want to take off a little bit of the low end, because you can't actually hear those frequencies, so it's not necessary for that to actually come through. But what we'll do here is we pick this band here, and then we can go to where it actually is in this. And if you can't like realize where it is, then just move this up and move it down, and you can see, okay, it's this one. So we'll move this right back where it was. Can we reset it? Move it 117. And actually we don't want to reset it. We're going to put it right there. And then what we'll do is we'll right click on this and we can link to a controller. But because I've already linked this to a controller, I'm not going to do this again, because then I'd have to, you know, go through it twice. I'm going to link one of these other ones to a controller. So we'll just, you know, create this. We'll pretend that this is going over here. Let's just put it at 117. And we'll right click and we'll go to link to controller. And here, we just want to link this to the controller. So we go to here, we can pick peak controller peak, but it depends, you know, usually you'd only have one controller here. But this is the second controller that we made. So there, let me put this through here. And when you come to import, you want to click this drop down menu, go to inverted, and then change this one to 0.5. This will actually allow us to basically duck these frequencies when the kick hits, because the peak controller is measuring the peaks. So every time the kick hits, it will basically take that information, pass it through to this EQ. And because we put it at 0.5, this is actually going to go down when the kick hits. Okay. So with time, we can basically, you know, see how fast or how slow the 808 is going to duck and go back. It's kind of like, I think it controls the release, and we also would want to turn on smoothing. But let me put this over here real quick. Let's accept this, and we'll move this so that you can actually see what's going on. So let's go back to link to peak controller. And now if we press play, you'll see it's actually moving. And we can make it take longer to come back up, or be super fast. But honestly, the time doesn't even seem like it's moving that much right about now. I usually will just have it around here. But I think it's because I need to press stop and then come back and then do all that sort of stuff. I don't know why it's not showing me actually moving. Because you can see this. Actually, it's probably because that's smaller, yeah. And it's all the way over there. So that's how the first one's set up. It's like right there. But we will turn off this link to the controller because we actually don't want that to be moving. Wait. Can I turn off the link to the controller? Link. Don't want to link at all. None. There we go. So that's getting the kick and the 808 mixed together. So the 808 is out of the way of the kick. Let's just delete this secondary peak controller. That was only for example purposes. And then basically on every mixer track, I've got this plugin called Relay. Now this basically just captures this information and sends it to Neutron 3, which is a plugin by Isotope that basically allows you to, well, you mix your song through that plugin in it. So I'll show you that when we get to that part with the leveling of that. But as I said before, most of my leveling was done prior to this, and I generally would just do leveling from hair real quick, and then, you know, everything in the visual mixer, which is what I'll show you a little bit later. Let me just bring it up real quick. It's basically just a visual way to mix. You can see where everything sits in your mix like this. So here's my kick, here's like my perk, here's my counter melody off to the right. So this is like pan to the right, this stuff is pan to the left. And I'm unsure what this, you know, -5 and stuff dB actually means, because it's not actually, you know, in terms of the loudness of the full track. Apparently it's like some sort of relativity. I'm not 100% sure in that. You can look deeper into that, but this is basically how I use the visual mixer. I just visually mixing it. And because I've mixed a bunch of beats already, I can use what's already in there as a starting point, and this comes every time I open my template. But if you're mixing for the first time, I would suggest, you know, you bring everything up from the bottom. Like you just turn everything super low and just bring it up until you get it to where you want to get to, except for like the kick and stuff. With that, you can look at the master track and see what's up, and then basically, you know, as you bring the 808 up, you see if you want to bring the kick down to get everything to sit around 6 basically, or where you think it sounds good. So let's continue playing this. And what we'll do is I'm going to go through the track and see if I need to turn anything down or anything up. And actually, I will just use the visual mixer to turn everything down and all that sort of stuff, because I think it is actually active right about now. And basically, let's detach this. The way this works is very similar to just this mixer over here. Like if I bring stuff down over here, it basically is the same as you just bringing these knobs down. Moving stuff to the right is the same as you like panning something to the right, basically. So it's not that deep. It's very, very simple. You can transfer this to, you know, your normal mixer if you're not actually using this visual mixer. So I do want to bring the perk a little bit down. And then we'll add the hats. That's too high. You gotta ask yourself, what do you want each instrument to do and how much of an impact you want it to have in the beat. That's really gonna inform your mixing decisions. Like the kick and the 808 is the focus of trap beats generally, so I like to make it the focus of my beats. I like the bass, the low end to be the focus of the beats, and everything else is quite secondary. Also don't like too much high end, but there is on this open hat we've got an EQ and we've got fruity delay. So we've basically just taken out all the low end because it's not necessary, and that's all. That's just a low cut. And then we've got fruity delay, and this, what's the time at? I'm not 100% sure. I think it's at like 4 steps. Yeah, well, it's right there in it, and that's the settings for that. So with a snare, we'll bring this down a little bit. Bring the hi-hats in there. Oh, let me not forget to show you all the stuff that we got going on with the snare. We've just got an EQ, so we've cut out the low end. And with the hi-hats, I've also cut out the low end of that. Because sometimes, like, I don't know if it's super necessary for you to go in and EQ all this sort of stuff if you got like good samples and whatnot. But I like to do it just to make sure that I'm not getting any remnants of those low frequencies or whatnot that I don't need in the beat, just, you know, muddying stuff up. So I think it's a good rule of thumb to just, you know, just at least create a template where everything's cut off and then you don't have to do it every single time, because I don't do this every single time. That's why, you know, I rarely suggest creating templates. So let's see where we want the hi-hats to be. This is probably a good place for it to be, because I find that sometimes I'll turn it up in the mixing stage and then in the mastering stage it's just very, very loud. And then we'll see what's going on with the clap. Yeah, that sounds perfect to me. And now what we can do is we can turn off all the drums and we can mix the melodies. Yo, well, go on guys, it is Jay from the future making another legendary appearance. Yeah, I was editing the video and I realized that I missed the mixing part of the clap out, and that seems to be because I didn't actually use any of my usual inserts, because this clap just sounded perfect to me. But I want to go through my usual inserts so you can see what I usually put on the claps. Generally I don't use the reverb, it's just there just in case, but I usually fling an EQ on first. We cut off the low end, we boost a little bit of the mids, cut off some of the highs, depending on the clap. Depending on the clap, you might have to do different things. Like this clap hits really hard and it just sounds exactly how I want it to sound. So there's no reason for me to, you know, fling the EQ on or anything like that. Like, it hits really, really hard. And I don't believe there's any low end that needed to be cut out here. I mean, a little bit. I probably should have put this EQ on because I did mix this beat, but I just totally forgot the claps. My bad. So the next thing that I'd add is Neutron 3 Sculptor. Now with Neutron 3, I just realized this recently, so it's great that I'm actually coming back to this video. Neutron 3 is actually really, really great for mixing. You could fling on Neutron 3 on basically any one of your tracks and just allow it to come up with the best way to make that sound how you want it to sound with its presets and stuff like that. But for this specific, for my claps generally, I'll use Neutron 3 Sculptor because this is one module of Neutron. And basically what this does is it applies a specific type of EQ to it, and it, you know, it has its own effects that basically you don't have to go in and use EQ and do all this sort of stuff. But if you do want to get the same sort of effect, then you would use EQ. And then I can change the tone, I could change the amount of the effect, I could change the tone down here, I could change the speed of the effects kicking in and all that sort of stuff. But I don't believe this needs to be used on this clap, but there's a bunch of different presets. You can use this on different instruments and all that sort of stuff, but I generally use the full-bodied snare one to just add some more punch to the snare. So let's listen to the snare without this and let's solo it up. Pretty nice, pretty punchy. And now let's fling the Neutron 3 Sculptor on. It's probably gonna make it too punchy. Let's see. I mean, it sounds, I'm not sure if I hear a difference here. It kind of sounds like I'm getting a little bit of warmness. Well, let's hear. Yeah, feels like it's adding a little bit of warmth, but we haven't put up the tone or anything, so that would make it like sound. This would make it sound really, really bright, I believe. If you bring down, now that actually makes it sound brighter. This makes it sound fuller. So generally, I'd fling this on, but as I said, this clap, I believe maybe I already flung this stuff on and just exported it. I'm not sure what I did with this clap, but I left it, and this clap worked out because it didn't need this extra, you know, sculpting and whatnot. But sometimes it does, and sometimes I can easily add some punch to my clap or whatever by using this insert list. But let's go back to the video so you can continue going through my mixing process. Or we can mix the melodies with the drums. It depends on what you want to do. But we're gonna go with the melodies and then bring the drums in. So this is the top melody for the chorus. So this generally takes up the high end. So, oh, wrong track, my bad. Let's bring up the effects on this. So we've got a EQ on this. Basically, I just use EQ, to be honest. Everything's just using EQ, and then I'm using the visual mixer on top. So this template, really, you can use it even if you're not, you know, going to use Neutron or anything. So basically, we take out the low end and take out some of the high end. I leave some of the high end because this is an instrument that's supposed to take up the high end, but I don't like too much high end coming out in my beats because it just doesn't sound nice in my ears. So, and I think like stuff that has too much high end generally sounds cheesy, man. So if you feel like your beats are sounding naff, they're sounding cheesy, they're sounding whack, they're not sounding like how you want your beats to sound, it's probably good because you got a bunch of stuff with a bunch of high end and it's just sounding weak. So let's play this and we'll see where the frequencies sit. Now, what I could do is I could double up on this EQ to make sure that I'm getting rid of those low frequencies. Actually, I think I will do that. Although I don't think it's super necessary for this particular instrument. Let's get out of there. Let's delete this. And what we'll do is we'll save this preset as, we'll just put this right down there and let's listen to it back. But what will happen now is those frequencies that we're getting through should be taken care of. Nah, it's still getting through a little bit. We ain't get rid of that, man. We'd have to get rid of the note. But this is supposed to accent the chorus. It's supposed to basically bring another melodic element to the chorus to let you know that it's the chorus and take up some high end, but it's not supposed to make too much noise. Because remember, you always need to be leaving room for the artist, the vocals. The vocals is the main point, or not the main point, but the vocals is the focal point of the track. So you need to be considering that when you're mixing. That's why I like to move everything around. So we got things to the left, things to the right, and keep the drums in the middle so that the vocals can sit in the middle and like the melodies and melodic elements are to the left and the right, and it kind of sandwiches the vocals in. So let's move along to the rest of the beat. It really depends how many melodic, like the amount of melodic elements you have really depends how hard it's going to be to mix your beat. Now, I suggest you don't have any more than 4. But generally, I'll have 4 melodic elements and only 3 playing at a time. So here we do have 3 playing at a time. We've got the counter melody and the main melody, and yeah, that. So let's bring in the counter melody and we'll start hearing how it sounds. Oh, that sounds awful in mono. Alright, so we need to find counter melody. but that definitely is too high. Because what I want this counter melody to do is to be something super subtle that you can hardly hear, that just adds some ambiance to the beat. Okay, that seems like where I want it. Then we can bring in, oh, let me quickly show you what we've got on this counter melody, because we do of course have another EQ. It's just EQs abound here, man. EQ is the main thing with mixing your beat. The reason why your beat usually will sound shit is because you've got things in frequencies and they're clashing. And Neutron's great for this because it will show you like where things are clashing. But because I know what I'm doing, kind of, I know where I want certain instruments to sit, and then if something is clashing, I'll go in with Neutron, I'll add another EQ and use that because it's got like a great masking in. Well, I'll do that. I'll make a Neutron specific video to show you that sort of stuff, but it basically shows you where things are clashing. But this is the thing we got on here. Basically a low cut and a bit of a high cut, but not much. And now we can bring in the main melody pad, and I think we've got, yeah, we've got two EQs over here, the same EQ twice, basically cutting off the highs, cutting off the lows, and just keeping the mid, because this is like the main melodic instrument that basically goes through the whole of the track. It's an intro, verse, chorus, that sort of stuff. So we just want it to be in the middle of the track, and we want everything else to come in and accent it and be like, everywhere else. So this is what we've got going on here. And if we was to turn these off, which I didn't show you with everything else, but we could do that if you want. This is what it sounds like. You see how it like it basically punches it into a box. It's like, yo, stop showing so much character, cuz. Like, it gets it to just be in its own space and not take up any of the low end or anything like that, so that when the 808s do come in, they take that space fully and there's no arguing with the main melodies. But I don't think it's necessary to show you, what I've cut off and all that sort of stuff. I think you get it, innit? I'm cutting off the frequencies that aren't needed. But now we can mix everything together and hear what it sounds like. And if you've done your job right, nothing should go above 6. I don't think I actually, my bad, I don't think I actually mixed this. I think I just skipped that over. I think I do want the main melody to be a little lower. I think that should be good. Alright, so now we can listen back. Might turn the snare down a little bit. Yeah, I prefer that. Now I think we've got it where we need to. I'm gonna control and save. Generally, now what I do is I play it out my speakers, which I can't do right now in it because otherwise I'd have to turn off the mic and then do all that sort of. Should I do that? I don't know. Nah, I don't think it's necessary. Don't think it's necessary. But I'm mixing in the headphones right about now. So what I do first of all is I turn this back to not mono anymore, so now it's stereo, and now we can hear where everything is, and I do some panning. I pan my main melody to the left, any chord pads, like main stuff like that, that's going to be the main skeleton of the beat. I have that a little bit to the left. This is a bit much to the left, to be honest. And I have anything that's like in the high end, like a high melody or anything like that, I have that to the right. We've also got the counter melody to the right. We've got the perks to the right as well, and then we've got all the drums down the middle. So that's set up. Don't worry about this. This is like just vocals. If you want to record on this template works for that as well. I'm unsure if I'm going to put this on the template, to be honest. I might have to take this out because this does have auto tune and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I'll do like a straight. There'll be a beat mixing template and beat making template there, so don't worry about that. So yeah, now we can listen to it in stereo, and there's going to be a big difference, and then we can move some placement around and see where we want the pans to go depending on what it sounds like. Then what I'd do is I'd play out the speakers, listen to that, then bring it back through the headphones, listen to it again, then start adding some mastering effects to bring the audio up and all that sort of stuff. Check that out through the speakers and headphones and go through that a couple times until I've got it to where I want it to be, and then I'll export it. So I'm going to walk you through the listening back to it in stereo, and then flinging some mastering effects on and listening to that and seeing if we need anything to change, or just showing you what effects I'd put on it and if we need to change anything. And then I'll show you how to export it, and then off camera I'll go through all that, you know, trial and error process, you know, listening to it 5 times to make sure that it's at the right place basically. So let's listen to it in stereo. Okay, that pretty much sounds perfect to me. I do want to let you know, quick trick that's probably going to help you with your mixing. Mix with the volume low. Don't make it too high, because if it's too high, then, you know, especially if you're using like a lot of bass and all that sort of stuff, you're just going to stop being able to hear after a while. Your ears are going to get fatigued. So turn your headphones low, or turn your speakers low when you are actually mixing, and then, you know, when you're done, listen to it the next day and all that sort of stuff, because that will make a big difference as well. So we basically got the mix where I think it should be, and now what I will do is I'll just fling on the master track. So this is what you will actually be uploading to like BeatStars and all that sort of stuff, the actual MP3 tagged file that people will actually hear. Sometimes people want to purchase this file. Sometimes people want to purchase a file that leaves more headroom. But nevertheless, with this, I try to leave 3 dB of headroom regardless. So, you know, people can still turn down the beat and all that sort of stuff. But if someone like really wants to get the beat where they want it to sound like, and they want to make a professional song, then they're probably going to buy track outs, to be honest. So here is Ozone 8. We've also got Neutron in here, but I don't think you're supposed to use Neutron on the master track like that, so I don't really use it like that anymore, but I was testing it out for a while. So the visual mixer is just, you know, the mixing board in a visual interface, and it does have some relative dBs and all that sort of stuff, but I'm not 100% sure what that's actually referring to. And then with the master, I think I used the modern hip hop preset, and then I've just added a few different parts. Like I think I'm not sure which was here and what wasn't here, but I've just filled up the console. So we've got the equalizer like this. You know, I'm just going to show you everything so you can copy it. We've got dynamics like this, dynamic EQ like this, getting rid of some, you know, resonance and all that sort of stuff. Vintage compressor like this, imager like this, maximizer like this. Maximizer is generally the only thing that I'll change from beat to beat, depending, you know, sometimes I'll need to change other stuff. But what I'll do is I'll learn the threshold, and like basically it depends how loud the beat is, in it. So let's actually listen to this beat. Okay, fair enough. But you see, like, we're stopping at 3 dB. I've put the ceiling at 1, but it stops at 3, so we're cool. And everything sounds pretty much how I want it to. But yeah, I could mess around with this. I could listen to a reference track to make sure that it sounds where I want it to be. But I've already, you know, messed around with this template multiple times, and I've got it to a place where it's generally, I don't need to do much moving around, and I generally get the sound that I'm going for. And this sounds perfectly fine to me. So yeah, I hope this video helped you out. I hope it helped you understand how you can mix your beats. I'm going to quickly show you how to export your beat. You basically just go to File, then Export WAV file, and then pick where you want your beat to go. I'm not really going to put my beat here, but I just want to show you how you do it. You want to select song selection, leave remainder. I would add, well, it depends what you're doing in it. If you're doing your untagged WAV, then you want to do WAVs. If you're doing a tagged MP3, you want to do MP3 and maybe unclick WAVs. For the WAVs, we're going to go 24-bit. We do HQ for all plugins. We'll have this at 512 point sync, and I'll basically turn all this shit on, and then turn off split mixer tracks, and then click start. You turn on split mixer tracks if you want to export stems, but I've got a video that shows you exactly how to do that, so go check that video out for more info on that. So that is that. Basically, that is how to mix and master your beat. This is coming up to 40 minutes right about now, so I hope you walked through this whole video. There's a lot of great information in here that will help you basically turn your mixing game up, man, and basically stop making terrible sounding beats and beats that are super muddy and all that sort of stuff. And basically, if that's still happening to you and you think you're doing a good job mixing, then you probably just need better sounds. You probably need better sound selection and that sort of stuff. And you know, if you've got terrible drums and all that sort of stuff, then it's just gonna sound terrible in it. But you can use mixing skills to get things sounding how you want to get them to sound. I like to use EQ to basically get an instrument that doesn't sound how I want it to sound and turn it into the instrument that I want it to sound like. So you can do that as well. But I hope this video helped you out. If you are an artist, then you can get 10 free beats from my website. Just go to jcarterray.com/free beats. This beat that I used to you know, show an example in this video will be linked in the description down below, so if you want to grab that, you can grab that. Remember, if you want my template, which will make this mixing process way easier for you, then there'll be a link in the description, or you can go to jcarterray.com/FL templates so that you can grab that. But as I said, this beat was already half mixed when I got in here. because I've got the template and because I do some small mixing as I go along, and I highly recommend you do that so that you don't create a bunch of beats and then you have to come back and be like, oh, now I've got to mix it and I've got to spend 3 hours mixing this beat because I didn't mix along when I was actually creating it. Like, this will save you a lot of anguish and help you finish a lot more projects and get a lot more beats out. So I hope this video helped you out again. Thanks for watching. Question of the day is, what's your favorite VST for mixing? Let me know in the comment section down below. Or are they called VSTs? I don't know if they're called VSTs. Favorite plugin for mixing. There we go. Let me know in the comment section down below. I really want to try out Nectar 2 for vocal mixing, but we'll talk about that when we talk about mixing songs. That's definitely something that I'm going to make a video on. Let me know what other videos you'd like me to make or what you want me to go more in depth about in the comment section down below, and I'd love to get into that with you. And in the next video, you'll learn more about music, YouTube marketing, or online business. I'll see you there. Peace out.